May was pinched on the subway by a passerby. The creepy guy made a very innocent face. When he was caught, he told her to look in the mirror. "Why would I touch someone like you?" May was furious and took him to the police station, because May was really not very good looking. The police didn't believe she would be touched on the ass. She fought with him at the police station. She was convicted of intentional assault. She gave up her childhood dream of becoming a singer because she looked so ordinary. She worked in an ordinary company instead. Everyone treats her beautiful co-workers very well. For May, there was only boredom. The only time May could find confidence was every night. She'd put on a mask and dance in the live studio. Her mysterious and sexy persona made her an instant hit. The seniors in the company were also talking about the hottest hostesses of the moment. Unbeknownst to them, the biggest internet sensation was sitting right next to them. But even though she hid herself well, she was recognized by her fans on the street. The fan warmly invited May to dinner. He was curious to know what she looked like. Seeing May's normal looks, the fan thought she shouldn't wear a mask, because she's actually very pretty, especially a girl like her with high cheekbones, and single eyelids would be more popular in their America. When she heard those sweet words, she let her guard down. She drank a lot of wine with her fans, but the fan secretly posted on the internet. He said he was with the masked girl. She said the real one was even uglier than she thought. The fan continued to lure her to the hotel. He said he was just watching TV, but suddenly pulled her into bed. The fan pressed her to the bed, but May pushed him away. He finally spoke the truth and said, "You are so ugly people still play what to capture the enemy." May's counterattack angered the fan. He forced her onto the bed. During the fight, the fan accidentally hit the back of his head. He bled profusely on the spot. May was going to call the ambulance, but suddenly got a call from her male colleague Ju. Ju came and saw the scene and was too scared to look at the body. He was strongly against calling the police because he might go to jail, even if you say it was self-defense. But you voluntarily opened a hotel with someone else, you'll be sentenced to several years in jail for manslaughter. May listened to her and didn't go to the police. Since then, she's been on the run for her life. May killed a man by accident and called her friend for help. Chu wouldn't let her call the police. He brought a suitcase like in the movies to disassemble the body and take it away. He had the guts to cut open the clothes first. He didn't realize that he wasn't dead at all. If the man wakes up, then Chu's plan to split the body would be discovered. Brother Chu was so scared that he really killed the man. Besides, he can't buy all these props for nothing. But decomposing the body was harder than he thought. He threw up so many times that night. The next day, Chu went to work as if nothing had happened, but his friend May didn't show up. It turned out that she quit her job and fled the city after the murder. Chu immediately went to the door. May was packing her bags. "You want to get away with murder and let Chu take the blame." In a fit of anger, he brutalized May too. May suddenly grabbed a knife from the table and plunged it into Chu's neck. A few days after Chu disappeared, the police came to Chu's house to investigate. It was the first time Chu's mother visited her son's room. The windows and doors were closed and the stench was so strong that there was a rubber doll lying on the bed. Mrs. Chu couldn't understand that this was her son's girlfriend. Suddenly, the police found the decomposed body in the bathroom. Mrs. Chu thought it was her son's body and fainted from grief. The police investigated and found that the body wasn't Chu's. Mrs. Chu was so relieved and happy to hear that, but the police suspected that her son was the culprit. Mrs. Chu immediately changed her mind. Mrs. Chu said her son couldn't even kill a fly. She said he was a good kid, who couldn't have killed anyone, but she chose to turn a blind eye to her son's innocence. The police found out that Chu's disappearance was related to a web celebrity named Masked Lady, but Masked Lady has already moved out. The landlord said she had plastic surgery before she left and changed her appearance. Auntie thinks she's cheating on her son. She opened her son's computer to look for her, but she couldn't even tell the difference between a keyboard and a mouse. She took a computer course and soon learned to type and search the internet. She searched every web page about the Masked Lady. She couldn't understand some of the comments, so she learned internet slang. For example, barbecue means I am screwed. Q means I am speechless. Fash means to appear out of nowhere. What is all this? Auntie felt so outrageous. She closed the restaurant and prepared to concentrate on finding her son. Auntie went to the bank and withdrew all the money she'd made over the years to fund her investigation. But that night she dreamt that her son came to her. Fortunately, it was a dream, but she got a call in the middle of the night. The police found a body and asked her to check if it was her son. Woman has to raise son alone after husband's cheating divorce. She'd do anything for her son. She washed dishes in restaurants, cleaned men's restrooms, delivered food and ran cabs. After 10 years, she finally opened her own restaurant, but she neglected her son's education. His son was often bullied at school, but he didn't dare tell his mom the truth. Mom thought her son was just unlucky, so she hired a priest to energize him. It worked. His studies got better, but he became more introverted. He's in college now, but he's afraid to talk to girls. When he started working, he asked his mom to separate from him. Later, he wouldn't even let his mom near his place for various reasons. One day, she suddenly dreamed that her son had died. She got a call from the police, come to identify a body. It was really her precious son. Her heart was filled with anger. She knew it was an internet celebrity called Masked Lady who killed her son. She gathered a lot of information on the internet. A netizen told her that Masked Lady danced at a place called Gangcheon, but Shez had plastic surgery. How did the netizen recognize her? The netizen claimed to be a boob connoisseur, and used that to recognize her. It's a waste of time for Mrs. Chu to listen so attentively. Mrs. Chu found the masked girl's hometown in her own way, but the other party has already severed her relationship with her mother. Instead of getting any news, she was arrested for harassment. She had no choice but to ask the witch to check her out. She didn't think she'd be able to figure it out, but she came up with 2 words, Gangcheon. That's exactly where the netizen said she was. Mrs. Ju came over to ask about her. She said she'd changed her name to Yao Miao. She lied about being the other woman's mom to get the address. The address is a media company. The boss said the girl quit her job and went to work in an entertainment club. Mrs. Chu went to all kinds of bars and nightclubs and finally met her at a food stall in front of a nightclub. She followed the girl into a nightclub. She found out that the girl had changed her name to Maya and was working here. Mrs. Chu waited for her to get off work and followed her again, and found her home address. After a night stakeout, she didn't rush into action. She followed her to the hair salon, and noticed a familiar necklace around her neck. At night, she went to an internet cafe, and found out the masked girl's old photos. Sure enough, she was wearing the same necklace. At that moment, the netizen sent another message saying that he confirmed that the girl was the masked lady. Her mom is looking for her in Gangcheon. Mrs. Chu had to act fast. The next day, she got a job as a taxi driver. Because of her experience with sports cars, the boss let her drive the cab easily. At night she parked the cab in front of the nightclub waiting for a ride. After turning down a dozen customers, she finally waited for the girl to get in. An older woman drove up in a cab to meet an arms smuggler. She slowly lowered her window. The arms smuggler thought he was being played. He didn't expect the lady to give him $10 million without a second thought. She had a lot of guns here, but none of the women were interested. In the end, the lady had her eye on a shotgun used to kill large animals. At night, she parked her cab in front of the nightclub. After turning down a dozen customers, she finally found her target. The target had killed Auntie's son. Now Shez, getting plastic surgery and getting away with it. On the way, she chatted with the girl and got her off her guard. While waiting at a red light, she asked her to pick up her cell phone. When she bent over, she tased her and took her to an abandoned church deep in the woods. No one could hear the girl even if she shouted at the top of her voice. Mrs. Chu even helped her shout twice. But in the end, Mrs. Chu realized that the girl wasn't the masked lady. Her name was Jin-ah, and she was a rival to the masked lady. She stole this necklace from Masked Girl when they fought. Jin-ah explained that her body was filled with silicone, but Masked Girl's body is real. Auntie compared them and saw the difference. Auntie was afraid she'd be too much to look at, so she asked Jin-ah to help her investigate. She found out that she had quit her job for a more lucrative line of work. Jin-ah deduced that she must have gone into prostitution. Fearing that Jin-ah would be bribed, she paid her well so she could concentrate on her investigation. After parted, Jin-ah went to a rundown hotel, but it turned out she'd lead to Auntie. She and Masked Lady were actually good friends. They used to perform together every day. She gave her the necklace. Who else would wear her enemy's necklace? The two of them were slowly planning how to escape, but Masked Lady didn't have an ID, so she couldn't go far away. Jin-ah is sneaking in and out of hotels, was being watched by the netizens. The netizens waited for her, and saw her true face here. She was happy to be recognized by her netizen fans, although she didn't admit that Shez the masked lady. But the netizen inadvertently told the aunt about her. She realized she was being tricked by the two of them. That night, the two of them were going to drive away overnight. Unbeknownst to her, she was already following them. They soon left the city and were about to rest by the river. She suddenly appeared behind them, with a long gun in her hand, but unexpectedly, the trigger suddenly jammed. The two of them seized the opportunity, and rushed forward to fight for their lives. The gun went off and killed Jin-ah. The remaining two fought to the death. Auntie, who is filled with hatred, is better than the others. She is rubbing the masked girl on the ground. Luckily, Jin-ah, who was shot, suddenly woke up and killed her with a stone. Her last breath was taken. Masked girl hugged her dead best friend, and cried for the whole night. The next day, she put her in the car alone, and sank to the bottom of the lake, but she was caught by the police less than 3 years after she went on the run. Tried in the Supreme Court for 5 murders, the masked woman became the center of attention. The flashbulbs were all over the place, and she was alone on the stage. Isn't this the dream she's been pursuing for years? I didn't think it would come true in this way. However, she gave birth to the child she had with the dead Chu, while she was on the run, and gave the child to her mother. Although the mother had severed the relationship, she couldn't bear to abandon her granddaughter.